go on to the most fundamentals of biostatistics. So the biostatistics is all about a session or a group of something called as a data. Fine. So what do you mean by a data? Clear. So data means it's information. So in a very simple terms or simple language, when you talk about data, means it is information. What informations you get from a subject, from a patient, or from a population. So this information is called as data. Clear. This data is broadly classified into qualitative and quantitative. So qualitative are also called as discrete data, whereas quantitative data are called as continuous data. So it is very important to understand the difference between a qualitative and a quantitative data. The reason why I'm stressing more on this qualitative and quantitative is this forms the fundamental in solving all problem solving exercises in your biostatistics. We get a lot of exercises, lot of problems asking about which test to be applied or what are the ideal statistical tests from the current scenario. So for solving this kind of problem solvings of this kind of exercises, the most fundamental thing to know is the type of data. Unless and until you identify what is the type of data, you won't be able to identify which test to be applied. So let us come to what are qualitative. So qualitative, as the word says, or literal meaning, you are assessing some quality in a person. It is more discrete. It is not measured in any scale. It doesn't have any magnitude or it doesn't have any units. The most simple way to understand a qualitative and quantitative data always have some magnitude or it has been expressed in units, whereas qualitative does not have any units of measurement. So the examples I have given you, the quantitative, the examples are height, weight, BP, etc. So all these variables have some quantity, some magnitude, and it can be measured on a scale. The meaning of scale is it is a continuum, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the all values signify something. It could be a grade, it could be the severity of the conditions, or it is a quantification of that particular condition. So 70 millimeter or 120 millimeter or 70 kilograms, so everything has a meaning, so it has a magnitude. So that is called as quantitative, or it is also called as continuous data. Means it is being measured in a continuous scale. It is continuous in nature. Quantitative, it has magnitude. Whereas there are other types of measurement. It is not like always all measurements in your biostatistic, all measures in your biomedical science always has some magnitude. There are certain variables or certain attributes you measure in terms of quality. For example, when you ask a patient what is the type of pain, or can you grade the type of pain when I inject an NLA, so he might grade it in the form of mild, moderate, or severe. Most commonly used type of qualitative measurements in a pedo and surgery when you administer local anesthesia or any procedure. You always ask the patient, can you grade the intensity of pain? You don't have any scale to measure the pain, but you have a particular grading like mild, moderate, and severe. So this has different categories. Similar way, color of hair. You have just two categories, brown or black or white. Gender, male, female. Or attitudes or perceptions which cannot be measured, which cannot be given any particular magnitude, or which cannot does not have any units are called as qualitative. So that is the basic difference between qualitative and quantitative. And again, one example of a qualitative data is nominal data. You get questions from nominal data. These are discrete data. For example, you have gender male, female. They are just in terms of names. Then other types of qualitative data is categorical. You divide your data into categories like mild, moderate, severe. It is within a categories, or yes, no. Your response, you take the responses from your patients like in the form of yes, no. Do you like this treatment? Do you prefer this treatment? Do you like this subjects? The response will be in the form of yes or no. So these are called as categories or categorical data. So you have your nominal data, you have your categorical, and you have something called as ordinal scale. So these are all types which comes under this qualitative, all the scales in how you measure this qualitative. It is basically, it is measuring all the qualitative nature of a individual. And ordinal is a particular data where the the particular data follows a order or a pattern is there, a ranking is present. For example, the first rank, second rank, third rank, it has an order, a meaningful order is there. So this kind of scales which exclusively talks about an order in a particular ranking system is called as ordinal scale. Categorical scale, again, I'm insisting categorical scale when you have just categories, one category, two category, or three or four categories. When your output or your response has been categorized, it is called as your categorical. Fine. So these are the examples of qualitative. Whereas quantitative, you have a scale called as ratio scale. The most of the continuous data, or most common, you can say, or most familiar, most commonly used continuous scale or continuous data scale is your ratio scale. Fine. The ratio, say your height, weight, blood pressure, everything comes under your ratio scale. It is a scale which has an absolute zero, where every quantity means something. You can measure the grading, you measure the severity, you can measure the intensity using this magnitude scale. Fine. So these are the examples of your qualitative and quantitative data. Now let's see some basic measures of central tendency and dispersion. Fine. So you have two basic measures of two different more ways where how you can express the data in your whole of biostatistics. We saw what are the types of variables of types of data. Now how you can express this data in biostatistics. So one way is something called as central tendency. Central tendency, in a way, it means that the central value, it is a central value around which other values lie. That is a simple meaning of central tendency. It is the one particular value around which other values lie. So you have three measures for a central tendency. One is your mean, median, and mode. Clear? So mean is a very familiar term, very familiar, used, very commonly used in many contexts. It is sometimes most commonly called as average. We do use the word average, but there is a lot of difference when it comes to an average and a mean, because average is a layman term. When we use in our daily routine works, we call it as an average. What is the average mark, or what is the average score you get? But that is different from mean. This is more statistical term, more technical term is called as mean. But how do you calculate both is all the same. How you calculate the average and how you calculate the mean is same, but the terminologies are a little different when it comes in the context. One comes in the statistical point of view, one comes in the layman point of view. So mean is sum of all observation in the data by number of observation, as simple as that. So the calculation part is same like how you calculate the average. Fine. So mean. Then how next is your median. So median, as the word says, median, middle value. It is a middle value which actually separates or divides the set of observations, set of distribution into two equal halves. Right? It is a middle value. So one half on the left side and one half on the right side. One central value which divides the values into two equal parts. So let me talk something about the mean. It is the most simple and most common measure of central tendency is called as mean. Whereas sometimes the data may not be normally distributed. So that I'll come in later. So when the data is not normally distributed, if the data is very extreme, you cannot use the mean. For example, if I'm just plotting, if I'm just taking the number of marks obtained by 10 students in any particular exams out of 100, if some of the marks are like 70, 60, 30, 40, 50, whereas some marks are like 10, 12, 5, 6. So it means that out of 100, the marks obtained are very extreme. So when you are very extreme values, this kind of observations are called skewed observations. So they're called as skewed, SKEWED, skewed observations. Fine. So the peculiar feature of this observation is that the values lie very extreme. So when you have extreme values, one at the lowest, one at the highest, mean cannot be used in that kind of situations. So in those kind of situations, the value skewed, you go for something called as median. So median is more ideal measure when you have skewed distribution. Please remember the word skewed. We do get questions from skewed data. Very important to be understood. And the last measure of central tendency is called as mode. Mode is one particular value that occurs in the maximum frequency. If you have a set of scores, the one particular score which occur for the maximum frequency is called as mode. Fine. So I hope mean, median, mode is clear. Next, let's take an example of a random data, how to calculate mean, median, and mode. Fine. So you can just calculate along with me when as I go along with the slides. You can just go and calculate along with me. So very simple questions, but you do get questions from this. So you have a random data 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 3, 12, 5. So when mean is being asked, as I told you, it is a sum of all observations by the number of observations. So you have total 10. So add all the observation and divide by the 10, it gives the mean. Whereas median, you have two ways in calculating means. Once, if you get an odd observation, what do you do when you get an odd observation? And what do you get when you get an even observation? Clear? In our case, the total observation 10, so it is even. So if it is odd, always you can have one odd value or odd one out. One value will be there which equally divides the observation to two. When you get an even observations or set of data, you don't have one single values. In those cases, you have two values which represent the central value. So for getting this, whenever you are being asked to calculate the median, always arrange the observation in ascending order. It can be either ascending or descending, but always it is better to arrange it in ascending order. Clear? As or arrange a set of observation as an ascending order and see that what are the values which locate in the central point. So we have here two values which are present in the central point out of the 10 observations. So add 5 plus 6 divided by 2. So that is your median. Fine. So mean, sum of all observations irrespective of number of observations present divided by total is your mean. In median, first arrange the set of value, given value. Don't jump into the distribution and go about. If you jump, you'll just go wrong. So whenever you get most common mistakes we do is when you ask median, you directly jump into the observation and pick the values. Arrange it in an ascending order, arrange the values in ascending order. Look at what are the values which lie in the center. If it is one single value, that is a median. If there are two values, add divide by 2, that is a median. And mode is very simple, one particular value which occurs maximum time. So in this observation, it is 5 which occur 2 times. That is why it is called as 5. If we had one more value like 6 here, then again 6 would have been the mode. So here there will be two modes, that is 5 and 6. Clear? I hope it is clear. If you have any doubts in between, you can always drop message in the chat box. Now let's see measures of dispersion. So once we talk about central tendency, so that is the central value which is the best representative of the set of observations. Clear? So that is the meaning of central. Okay, somebody has asked me to explain mode again. So mode is that particular value in the set of observation which occur the maximum frequency or maximum time. So here you can see that there are some number 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 3, 12, 5. So mode, when you talk about mode, it means that it is one particular value which occurs the maximum time in that set of observation. So here it is 5. 5 occurs 2 times, whereas other values only occurs once. So 5 is the mode here. I hope it is clear. So any values if occurs more than once, it is the mode. If there is no value which has occurred more than once, it means that there is no mode in the observation. Clear? If it is one value is there, it is considered as the mode. So it is very simple. The value which occurs maximum number of time. If 5 is there, if 5 occurs 2 times, it is called as 5 is considered as the mode. Thank you, Dr. Sujay. Thank you. Yeah, we'll move on. So central tendency is the central value, which is the best representative of the entire set of observations. So once we understand the central value, like in mean or average, the next thing we need to understand is how much each observation differs from the mean, or what is the dispersion, or what is the deviation, or what is the variance. These are the various terms which is been used in the statistics, but to some extent they all convey the same meaning, that is how much it is been dispersed, or how much it is been away from the mean. In simple terms, how much it is been away. Clear? And what are the ways to identify this dispersion? What are the modes to identify the dispersion? Like your central tendency, there are three ways, or three most commonly, I would say. Apart from that, there are other measures of dispersion, but here most commonly used measures are range, mean deviation, and standard deviation. For our level, it is only essential to know and understand the formula. We don't need to look in deep about the derivation of the formulas. Clear? Just understanding the formula is sufficient at our level. So range is maximum minus minimum. That is a range. We always use this word, whether undoubtedly we go to any place, when before buying any stuff, we always ask what is the range. Clear? What is the range when we go to a particular shop for buying a piece of cloth? What is the range? It simple means that what is the highest, what is the lowest. Same meaning conveys here. Maximum minus minimum as your range. If you have a set of values, let's take the previous example. See here maximum is 12 and minimum I think 1. So 12 minus 1 is the range in the set of observation. Clear? So that is a range. Mean deviation, you have certain things, new symbols over here. One is your summation. This is a sigma symbol is there. Then you have xi, then you have x dash, then bar n. So this is usually x dash here, x dash and divided by n. It means that, for example, you have 5 weights of 5 individuals. I'm randomly writing the weights of 5 into 60, 50, 40, 30, and 70. I'm randomly writing the weight of this 5 individuals. And first thing, I would calculate the mean. X dash equals mean. Mean is also given by the formula mu. Clear? You have sometimes you come across this formula called as mu. It is pronounced at mu. It is same like mean. So mean are denoted by two terms. X, on top of x you have a small dash here, x dash, or mu, like this. This both symbols meanings mean same, that is mean. They are the symbols used for mean. Clear? So for example, if you calculate the mean as, I'm just arbitrarily taking as 40 as the mean in this observation. Say 40 is our mean. So our mean deviation means we are subtracting each individual's weight from this mean. Say our individuals are A, B, C, D, and E. So we are subtracting A's weight, that is 60 minus 40, 50 minus 40, 40 minus 40, 30 minus 40, 70 minus 40. So that is actually a mean deviation. And irrespective of the sign, we don't consider the sign here, whether negative or positive doesn't matter. Then we add everything. 60 minus 40 is 20, plus 50 minus 40, 10, plus 40 minus 40 is 0, plus 30 minus 10, plus 30. So you get the mean divided by total. So that gives your mean deviation. I hope it is clear. Fine. And here next is your mean square deviation, or it is called as standard deviation. Standard deviation or root mean square deviation. Since a root square root came here, that is why it is also called as root mean square deviation. Here what we do is you square this difference and subtract by n minus 1. You have an additional thing. It is same like your mean deviation. The only difference is You square all the differences. Just like the previous example, 60 minus 40, you get 20. You square it, plus next value, you square it, plus the next value, square it. Then it goes on divided by n minus 1 and you square root. Clear? So here, I then an important thing to be noted is the standard deviation. You can see it is related to the sample size, total number of the sample. N is equal to total number of the sample. When standard deviation is indirectly related to or inversely related to the sample size, whereas it is directly related to the mean. You do get direct questions relating standard deviation, sample size, and mean. Fine. So here range is maximum minus minimum. Mean deviation is sum of xi minus x dash by n, whereas x dash is mean, xi is individual observation divided by the total sample. So you're subtracting each individual's weight from the mean divided by the total number, mean deviation. Standard deviation, you're just putting a square root and squaring the difference of individual observation from the mean. So these are the measures of dispersion. I hope it is clear. Anything to be repeated, or shall I move on to the next concept? So once you understand the measures of central tendency and dispersions, both important. One is, as I told you, one is the central value. Another is how much each values deviate. Fine. So this measure, like how much each value deviates, is your mean deviation and standard deviation. So range does not consider the middle values. That is why mean deviation and standard deviation is important. So mean deviation, you subtracting, just like the example I told you, you have different values like 5, 4, 3, 2 different individual. Each corresponds to one individual. If you got the mean as 3.5, that is the mean. Clear? So when you calculate the mean deviation, it means that you're subtracting each individual value from the mean. That means even if when you calculate 3.5 minus 5, it becomes negative, but you don't consider negative. You always take absolute values. You have a concept called as absolute values in mathematics or max. So you consider it absolute values. So negative signs are omitted here. So 5 minus 3.5, 4 plus 3, 4 minus 3.5, 3 minus 3.5, 2 minus 3.5. So you add everything, plus 0.5 plus 0.5 plus 1.5. So you subtract, you add all the differences from mean divided by total number. Here you have 4 samples. So you divide it 4. Clear? So that is mean deviation and standard deviation. You first calculate the mean of the given observation, then subtract each value from the mean, then add it, divide by total number. That is your 5 or 4, whatever the sum of observations are. Clear? I hope it is clear. Same here. In this example here, you got the mean as 6. So you're subtracting each values from 6. That is 4 minus 6 plus 5 minus 6 plus 6 minus 6 plus, and go on, divided by 10. That is your mean deviation. Fine. Now let's see another concept, very important concept, which is forms the basis. With all this above knowledge, let's see the concept of normal curve or normal distribution. Fine. So normal distribution or normal curve is one of the most common or most commonly used physiological distribution which is present in our normal life. Whatever normal things or normal measurements, what we measure on a continuous scale or continuum data, are all normal distributions. Other distributions, unlike your normal, are called as binomial distribution or Poisson's distribution, which is not of much concern for us. So what is more important is your normal distribution. In a normal distribution, you always plot, when you plot a graph, you get a distribution like this, which is bell shaped and which is symmetrical. And the central line always denotes the mean of the distribution, and the values in that observation will be equally divided into both halves. Clear? Now let's see, how do you get a normal curve? To understand it a little more in depth, so let's take an example of a blood pressure of 10 students. Clear? So before you plot a I mean your normal graph, a normal curve, it is always done by plotting a histogram. Clear? So I hope you all know about histograms. It is nothing but bar diagrams close together without a gaps in the bar diagrams are called as histograms. Fine. So I'm just plotting the blood pressure. Clear? So I'm just writing here systolic blood pressure is 70. Some people have low, some people are 100, some people have 120, 140, 150. So I'm just giving an example and assume that 120 is our mean. 120 is now given observation. 120 is our mean systolic pressure. So when you have mean, it means that on this side, it is the number of observation, how many people are having it, 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. This is just an example, rough example. Fine. So when it is mean, it means that majority of the people are having, when I'm plotting a bar graph, majority of the people are having the blood pressure around this particular area, that is around 120, around the mean. And as the distribution goes, it if it is goes like this, like it is tapering towards the tails, tapering towards the both ends like this, people who are having around 150 and 70 are very less, only 10 in number, 20 in number. If you're getting graphs like this, and once you plot this graph, the central values of this graphs you plot, and you're getting a graph like this graph is called as a normal distribution, or it is called as a normal curve, which means whenever you have a distribution like this, you can say that 68% of your data, 68% of the people who in your sample will be mean plus one standard deviation. Clear? So plus or minus one standard deviation. Clear? This is plus or minus. So this is what I'm talking. So if you're getting a normal curve, it means that 68% of the values will be within this area. Like if you're plotting that histogram, 68% of the values will be this area, plus or minus standard deviation, one standard deviation. Whereas 95% of the value, 95% of values will be plus or minus two standard deviation, this area. And 99% of the values will be in this area. 99, that is plus or minus three standard deviation. Fine. So in the same example, let me take another example. If I have a group of individuals and I'm having a blood pressure of 120 and my standard deviation here, this is a mean of blood pressure. What I explained to you, mean, it is expressed by mu, and standard deviation is, say for example, phi. Standard deviation is a measure of dispersion. More unlike, just like your mean, the most common measure of dispersion is your standard deviation, which is also called as root mean square deviation, given by the formula square root of xi minus x dash the whole square by n minus 1. Fine. So you have a standard deviation of phi. It is either denoted by SD or a letter called as sigma. Clear? So sigma is for standard deviation, whereas mu is for mean. Fine. So this is the value. So when you plot a graph, if 120 plus 120 plus or minus, say for example 1 SD, 1 means 1 into 5. Standard deviation is 5 given. So 1 SD means 1 into 5, 5. So 120 plus 5 is 125, and 120 minus 5 is 115. So it means that your 68 percentage here, this value 68 percentage 68 percentage of the values will be here. So in the example, this will be 115 and here it will be 125. So 68 percentage of the values will be within this 115 and 125, and remaining people will have values below 115 and below 125. So you can know what is the percentage of the values who has below 125 and below 150. So this is in case of 1 SD. And if it is a normal curve, then 2 SD means 2 into 5, 10. So instead of 120, it becomes 130 and 110. 2 SDs 130 and 110. It means here, clear? This limit is 130 and here it is 110. So if you have a normally distribution data, so this 110 and 130, 95 percentage of the observations lie here. So only 5 percentages are outside this level. So you can know that majority of the people are within this limit and just a few people are with outside your extreme limits 110 and 130. So it gives a broader concept about the dispersion of the data and where exactly your data or most of the values of the individuals lie. So that is the use of normal distribution or normal curve. Fine. Normal distribution, normal curve, Gaussian distribution. These are all the terms which has been most commonly used for your normal or bell-shaped curve. It is called bell-shaped curve, symmetrical curve, normal curve, Gaussian distributions. These are all the terms synonymously used for data. So bell-shaped, smooth curve, perfectly symmetrical, does not touch the baseline, and mean, median, and mode are coincides, and it is 0. You can see it is a central area where mean, median, and mode all coincides here. That is again a feature of a bell-shaped normal curve. Mean, median, mode coincides. Standard deviation is 1 and area of the 1. So this you have to remember as such. Standard deviation and total area of the normal curve is 1 and mean, median, and mode is 0. This is the characteristic features of a normal curve, has to be remembered in the same way. Fine. So this is the concept of normal curve. If anybody still not understood the curve, you can just drop me a message. I'll explain you. And when you talk about a normal curve, something which is not normal is known as skewed observation. If you can recollect the first initial slides, I talked about skewed observation, where as a measure of central tendency was median. So an observation, when it is not normal, it is called a skewed. We don't use the word abnormal or not normal. We use the word skewed. Clear? So when you get a normal curve, let's see what are the parts of a normal curve. You have a peak. This part is called as peak of the curve, and this ends are called as tail of the curve. Tail. You have tail and you have peak. Clear? So tail and peak. So you in the normal curve, both tails are almost touching on the baseline. You have a one peak, one single peak, which where the mean, median, and mode coincides. That is in case of normal curve. So here in skewed distribution, how do you identify a skewed? Very frequent questions you get in this concept, whether it is right skewed and left skewed. What is the skewiness? What is the type of skewiness in this particular curve, whether it is right curve or left curve? And what is the relation between, we give mean, median, and mode will be given, and you will be asked to tell what is the skewiness, whether it is right skewed and left skewed. Clear? So I'll tell a simple trick to identify, understand the skewiness. First thing to be noted is to identify is the tail. Always look for the tail of the curve. Tail of the curve shows the skewiness. So you have two terms here, right skewed or left skewed. So when the tail is towards the right, you're sitting and looking in the curve. If it is towards your right side, it is called as right skewed. the tail is towards the left side, it is called as a left skewed. And when you have a right skewed, you have to just remember this mean, you write mean, median, and mode like this, and put greater sign like this. Whereas in case of left skewed, you put a less sign like this. In case of mean, median, and mode. It means that in case of right skewed, mean is greater than median, greater than mode. Whereas left skewed, mean is lesser than median, lesser than mode. You're getting my point? So you'll get a question asking the mean of the set of observation is 10. The median is 5. What is the skewness of the data? So you can't, even if you don't know this particular trick, you can't understand how you can't solve that particular problem. Fine. So what you have to do is you have to check what is the relationship with mean and median. Here you can see mean 10 and median is 5. So mean is greater than median. So mean greater than median. So it is a right skewed. You can correctly solve it. Right skewed. So two tricks. One look for tail and one look for this relation. Mean greater than median, greater than mode. Mean lesser than median, lesser than mode. Fine. So this is all about the skewness, right skewed, left skewed, normal distributions. Fine. Yeah. Any doubts you have? Any doubts? Fine. So far we is Dr. Sharada Devi has asked to repeat something. What concept which concept you want me to repeat? Doctor, which concept you want me to repeat? I didn't follow it. Numerical value in the sense, the first slide. Last point, this particular slide about the skewness and normal distribution. Fine. Fine. So normal distribution is clear. Normal distribution is clear. So I'll just give an overview. Yeah, I'll just come to the normal distribution again. Yeah, so you have a normal distribution. I'll just give an overview about normal distribution, then I'll tell about the skewness. So normal distribution, the most of the distributions or most of the values which are on continuous scale, which are present in the normal statistics are come always follow a normal distribution. So unlike your normal distribution, you have some other type of distributions called as binomial distribution, Poisson's distributions and all. But normal distribution is something very common, which are physiologic in nature, and most in the biomedical science and statistics, we come across this normal distribution. So in a distribution, when your mean and your standard deviation are plotted, when you plot your mean and standard deviation, if your standard deviations or if your values are within the mean and one standard deviation, or mean plus or minus two standard deviation, or mean plus or minus three standard deviation, you plot the values like this. And if you see that 68% of the values are within 1 SD, or 95% of the values are within 2 standard deviation, or 99% of the values are within 3 SD, then the distribution is called as normal distribution. It means that if it is 68% are, or almost 68% of the data are within one standard deviation, and the remaining data, the 32% are dispersed, or which are outside this particular deviation. It is dispersed. Or if it is, we can say if it is two standard deviation, 95% of the values are within this range. That is plus two standard deviation minus two standard deviation. Only 5% of values are away from the standard deviation. So away from this two values, that is plus SD and minus SD. So this forms a normal for curve, forms the basis of your parametric and non-parametric test. That is something different. So any distribution which is not normal are called as skewed distribution, which are of two types, right skewed and left skewed. Fine. So any distribution which is not normal are called as skewed distribution. Fine. So you have two simple steps to identify whether your distribution is right skewed or left skewed. It is one is by looking at the tail. So this portion of the curve is called as tail of the curve. Clear? You have something called tail of the curve, and this is called as peak of the curve. Fine. You have a tail of the curve and peak of the curve. So which side your tail actually defines what is the skewness of the net. If it is towards the right side, you call it as right skewed. If it is towards the left side, it is called as left skewed. That is one technique, one method to identify. The second method is you can have a relation between mean, median, and mode. You can write down a formula of mean greater than median greater than mode. Fine. So you have this particular formula. It is for right skewed. Similar, mean less than median less than mode. This is for left skewed. Clear? So right skewed, you have mean greater than median mode. So remember, like mean, median, mode. That order you remember, mean, median, mode. Then put greater sign for right and put lesser sign for left skewed. So even if you get values like in a set of distribution, for example, if you get a question like in a set of distribution, the marks scored by so and so people, like the means mark score was 45 and the median mark score was 30. Clear? So you know that there is a difference. So if you get values like this, how you can relate the mean and median? Based on that, you can see to that what is the skewness of the data. If mean is greater than median, it is right skewed. So this is just an example. Just an example. You get a lot of problems if you look into the textbooks. You have a lot of problem solving exercise based on skewness of the graphs. You can just go back and try to solve this. This is a very important trick to solve skewness questions, questions from normal distribution and skewness questions. I hope it is clear. Dr. Sharada Devi, I hope it is clear. Okay, fine. Okay, then. So that completes our session. Thank you everyone for your patient listening. We'll just go through some of the questions, whether whether you are able to answer the questions. Just quickly, we'll go through the questions. The best measure of central tendency for highly skewed data is. Okay, just drop the messages in the chat box. Very good, very good, very good. All of you are getting the answers correctly. Fine. It is your median, best measure. Yes, small problem solving again. DMFT score obtained by 6 children are 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 6. Find the median and mode in the observation. So all the questions have been picked from your APG questions, all previous years APG questions. What is the mean? Quickly you can calculate it. DMFT score. I just changed the number so that you can calculate, but the question was similar question. Just change the values because that will be easy for you to calculate. If it is a bigger values, it will be difficult. 3, 4, 2, 3, 5, 6. Okay, Dr. Gayatri has got it correct. It is 3.5 and 3. It's simple. Median, you arrange it in order. See to that what is the value divided by 2. And mode is one particular value which occur maximum time. That is 3. Simple. That's all. Fine. So sometimes you might go wrong in the calculations. Take your time and calculate. It will be correct. So in your BDS class, Ram gets 40th rank and Mohan gets 10th rank. What kind of scale of measurement is this? I think this we discussed in the first slides. What type of scale we use for this? Very good, Akshata. Very good. All of you have come correct in this. It is an ordinal scale, right? And what is the characteristics of a normal curve? What is the characteristic of a normal curve? Very good. It all coincides. Mean, median, all mode coincides. Fine. So that is the correct answer. Very good. All of you have come correct. Fine. So that